numerous countries have weighed in on the atrocities of the Israeli-HAMMAS exchange that made the headlines on October 7, including the Putin administration. News.com has learned that what Russia did differently though, was weaponize the developments and use them against the United States. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev used the opportunity to criticize the U.S. on the day of Hamas's violent outbreak for failing to resolve the long-standing Israel-Palestine conflict. He pointed out that the explosion conflict came at a significant time for Israel. Clashes between Hamas and Israel on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War come as an expected development, he noted, and then turned his attention to the U.S. This is what Washington and its allies should be busy with. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has been going on for decades, with the U.S. the key player in it, he said. Medvedev, in an apparent state of frustration, continued, the conflict between Israel and Palestine has been going on for decades, with the U.S. the key player in it. But instead of actively working at Palestinian-Israeli settlement, these morons have interfered with us, and are providing the neo-Nazis with full-scale aid, pitting the two closely related peoples against each other, per The Hill. Medvedev's comments were in reference to the U.S.'s involvement in Ukraine and its support of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Russia has long accused Zelensky of being a fascist and pursuing a neo-Nazi agenda, despite his Jewish heritage, by cracking down on pro-Russian supporters. Medvedev went on to accuse the U.S. of instigating violence around the world. What can stop America's manic obsession to incite conflicts all over the planet? He asked rhetorically. Hamas fighter takes a video selfie with the aunt of Israel's defense minister. #Palestine, #Israel, #Israel under attack, #Al-Aqsa flood, #Hamas, #Gaza, #war, #Al-Mayadeen, #TWFN_LQS, #LHLY_LTHDpic. Medvedev's diatribe comes after Palestinian Islamic fundamentalists launched a surprise early morning attack on eastern Israeli territory which has thus far comprised 5,000 rockets fired, per Times of Israel, and a climbing death and casualties toll. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu then followed through with a declaration of war, scrambled jets, and leveled a few Hamas holdings in Gaza. As the fighting escalated, news emerged that Hamas had taken up to 50 Israeli hostages, including 5 Israeli soldiers, and a photo even emerged of one operative posing with a lady whom they claimed to be the aunt of Israel's defense minister. Other videos show vehicles with smashed windows and open doors and dead bodies strewn across a highway. Pray for the people of Israel, they are really suffering a lot. #Israel, #Israel under attack, #Palestine, #Hamas, #Palestinian pic. Reports have also surfaced on X telegraphing heavily armed Hamas members going from door to door searching for Israelis. As the news continued to filter through, it was apparent that Israel was battling to deal with the initial shock of the attack as the numbers of their abducted, injured, dead, and dying grew rapidly. Opposition leader Yair Lapid calls for an emergency government to manage the difficult and complex operation ahead of us after more than 100 Israelis have been killed, close to 1,000 wounded, and an unknown number of soldiers and civilians abducted by Hamas terrorists into Gaza. Lapid then continued to say that the attack was a result of short-sightedness on the Israeli side and noted that the war would last. This fledgling war would go on for a while before it ended.